Hi, I'm Michelle for Afro Expats. Welcome back. I'm interviewing yet another person from Lake Chapala. I had the pleasure of meeting Nana via Joan Hardy. I asked her about a week ago, whether or not she would be interested in doing an interview, but she's currently somewhere else. So she put me with Nana, and I'm going to let her tell you about herself. But the idea behind this is we're doing like a lifestyle series on Black expats that live around Mexico, different areas in Mexico, because I really want people to have an understanding that it's a vast country. There are plenty of places to live, all sorts of geography. If you're interested in the beach, there's that. You want to live in a desert, you could do that too. You want to live in the mountains, there's that. Small towns, big cities. So, the intention is to create that awareness and also to give people perspective and hopefully dispel any kind of negative stereotypes that people might have about living in Mexico as a whole, whether it's down to, just are we received as people of color? Is it safe and things like that? So no more else to, not much else to say, but to introduce Nana. So I'll let her take over. You can tell us your name, your full name, and where you are in Mexico.
Okay, great. Nice to be with you. I'm Nana New. I live in Lake Chapala area, which we call the North Shore of the Lake Chapala area. It's about 45 minutes south of Guadalajara in central part of Mexico. We're between, on the North Shore, we're between the Sierra Madre Mountains and the Lake Chapala. And that kind of gives us this glorious weather year round. We're about the same altitude as Denver, like we're mile high, and we're on like the same longitude as Hawaii. So we have that temperate climate year round. I've been living here about 7 years. I moved here from Baltimore, Maryland, and I also lived in a lot of states in the South, in Alabama, Georgia, Tennessee, etc. And I am just in heaven, in my opinion. So when looking at different parts of Mexico, I looked at the coastal areas. I really thought I wanted to be a beach girl. I, adore the beach and thought that would be a good idea year round. But as I continue to research and explore, for me, it was not the best fit for certain lifestyles. I think it's excellent. I think it's, the choice, but I'm in, we'll call it the fall of life, which is kind of like the retirement area. I am retired, and this community in the Lake Chapala area appeal to a more laid back retirement type lifestyle. Right. That doesn't mean that there's nothing going on. It just means that there's probably more day life than nightlife. And there doesn't mean that there's nothing for young people, but there's it's not overwhelmingly geared towards the younger person. The expat community here is very large. It's like one of the largest expat communities in Mexico, but of course that's changing now. So I don't know what it is now.
Right. I heard that it was pretty large. I heard that it had kind of like the largest Canadian expat community. Is that true?
Like I said, I don't know what the statistics are now. The Canadians tend to, when I first came, they were a pretty large group. They spend about 6 months here and 6 months in Canada. So there's the Canadian high season, and then there's the low season when they go back, generally from April to October, they're not here. So we call them snowbirds.
Right. So what kind of was your draw to Lake Chapala? Did you know someone, or did you just do a lot of research and decide that was your space, or did you visit?
I absolutely didn't know anyone. I had not even visited any part of Mexico other than Tijuana, when I went
Okay.
to San Diego. That was it. And um, I knew, what was on TV, the touristy areas. But when I started looking for a place to move to, it was really because of universal health care. I was looking for any country that had universal health care because that was the big thing when I was leaving the States. And Alabama, Georgia, all those states I named had horrible health care. The way that they were implementing the healthcare that Obama was bringing about was not equal all over the country. And the places where I was, it was not, affordable. It wasn't good. And turned out almost every other country in the world has universal healthcare. So there was like a big choice. It was
Right.
to move anywhere pretty much. And
Right.
yeah, through research and narrowing it down and the proximity to the states, I settled on Mexico. And then reading further, one of the articles that I read called this place magical. And I just, I love magic. I'm all about magic. So I'm going there. And I just did a week reconnaissance trip, which, I highly recommend everybody do, at least to see the area. And it was more of a feeling. After like a couple of days, I just felt at home.
Awesome.
Can't describe it any other way.
I love that. I think we all kind of go through the motions in some capacity. And when you feel that space, or you see and you're there, or you see it, even you can connect with it online as well. And you're just kind of like in awe of something. And I have to say that that happened with me here, but it was a second time around because I visited San Miguel in 2005, but I was in a different chapter in my life. And I was just like, what am I supposed to do there? It was a much slower pace. It was definitely way more laid back, and there were lots more dirt roads and things like that. And yeah, I remember just thinking, what should I do here? I want to be in a city. So long story short is, when you're ready to make those moves at whatever chapter you are, you just know, you feel what you feel, and it draws you in. And I love hearing these stories because I think a lot of people think that it requires, it is a lot of planning and effort, but I feel that it's possible. And sometimes you have to act on those things that you're feeling, whether you're, a single female, because I'm interviewing mostly women. And I find it really like inspiring to speak to so many women that just, it's sort of like, I feel like we're pioneers, like, let's just do this. Let's go check this out and let's go live there. And if they have children, even better, give them that experience. So I love the story, and I just enjoy the fact that you found your space and it spoke to you, and it just kind of was like, okay, this is it. So when you got to Lake Chapala, did you have like, kind of an instant opportunity to start connecting with people? I know that you guys recently, or someone recently, created an expat group, I believe. And if you could share the name of the group, because maybe someone else wants to move to Lake Chapala and they can join and learn more about it, get inside information.
Well, to answer your question, when I first came, no, there was no instant connections. I actually met a psychic lady, and I had a psychic reading, and from there, we didn't really have a strong connection, but she was the person that I would call when I was back in the States looking for a place. How can I get down there? And so you don't really have to have a strong connection. You just have to have an information source is,
Right.
the way I think about it, in terms of transitioning. And there are lots of Facebook groups here now. Back then, not so much.
Right.
There were real estate groups, so you could find a place to stay and that kind of thing.
Right.
And there were mostly white people. So I could count, on one hand, the number of Black people that I ran into. And slowly I began connecting with more and more Black people here as they, more came in.
Right.
And we do have a Facebook group, but it's a private group because, we're really trying to not be everything to everyone.
Right.
But certainly anyone interested in joining can, I think they can contact, they can look for Sisters in Lake Chapala, but I'm not sure how private groups are done. I'm just sorry.
No, that's okay. I think the way it is,
Guadalajara group is the way to go. Like there's a
Okay.
group in Guadalajara, Afro Descendientes, and Guadalajara Black people, Black expat. All of those are conduits into, like, if you're specifically looking at Lake Chapala thereafter, then we can get you can get more information that way.
Right, right. No, I think that it was Joan who invited me to the Sisters in Lake Chapala. So, if there is a sister out there watching this and is interested, definitely seek that out, and you're considering Lake Chapala as an option. Because as I said, I'm finding a lot more women, and is the reason why I started the series off interviewing my husband, because I was just like, I'm sure there's some brothers out there that want to move to Mexico, whether they're single or not. And I know they're here already, but I feel like, we are the ones that are front and center, bringing and disseminating information and creating channels and talking about our experiences. But I thought it would be interesting to bring that from his perspective. So I was like, you're going to be my first person that I talk to about how you look at things as a, Black expat male in Mexico. But I know there are lots of resources, but I'm loving what we're doing here. I think that we are on the move and there's a lot happening. I've met several women in different places that are just doing certain things, and I think it's special. And then I've met yourself and others that have been here for a while. I've been here for 3 years, it went by fast, but I've met some ladies locally as well that have been here for like over 20 years. I'm like, okay, and as you said, there wasn't a lot out there before, but that's why we love the internet. And at times we don't, right? We don't love it always. But what I learned from Nanette earlier was that Guadalajara is so close to you. I did not know that. I didn't realize it was only 1 hour away.
Yeah, it's less than an hour. We're a suburb. The airport is kind of equidistant between Lake Chapala and Guadalajara. So even though we enjoy small town living, we have the option of big town or big city amenities, if that's something someone's interested in.
Right. And those amenities, I know for us, amenities like Costco's, people are surprised that there's Costco's here, and we have Walmarts. I mean, I'm not a fan of Walmart, but there's a Walmart, there's Home Depot. So that's about the same distance from us as well in Querétaro. But I want people to know that, you can live somewhere else and it's still kind of familiar, meaning you're not losing everything. Because a lot of times people just feel like, I want my creature comfort. I want this, I want that. And I think that's why we kind of choose like sometimes those outskirt areas, so the areas where, okay, I can still get to the airport pretty easily. I don't have to drive for 4 or 5 hours and, to get back to the
We had a
US.
discussion on the Sisters in Lake Chapala recently had a discussion about the creature comforts, and the consensus tended to be that the creature comforts that we thought we enjoyed so much in the States are nothing compared to the real soul comforts of living in a place that is beautiful, it's peaceful, the people are friendly, there's racism isn't at your door every day. The news isn't bad every day. And the pace of life is not stressful. It's
Right.
just more conducive to being a full, vibrant human being.
Yes.
Those other things tend to kind of damp down on our ability to thrive as humans on the
Right.
planet. So
Right.
like no amount of creature comforts is going to make up for that. And a
Right.
lot of those, what we think of as creature comforts, are really just advertisers telling us that we need a particular thing, and programming that is that a capitalist society is going to bring about for its own well-being. So
Exactly.
what's up for the well-being of the capitalism system is not necessarily for the well-being of the human.
Right.
And
Exactly.
so there's an awakening that happens once you start to deprogram away from what you consider are creature comforts, and there's awakening to what human life really can be like, what your full potential can be like, how you
Right.
can, or what do you really want to do in life? What do you really want? How do you want to live?
No, it's true.
Those
It's
kinds of things
true.
don't even occur to you when you're in a system that kind of dictates,
Exactly.
you will have a ring doorbell,
Or just, that rat race where you think, okay, I'm going to keep working, I'm going to do this, and I got to go up the ladder, or I have to make X amount so I can work towards my pension and I retire. It's just a lot. I mean, I worked for at least 15 or 17 years in corporate. And, this was kind of what I thought was the thing to do. And then until it wasn't. And when it wasn't, I just thought to myself, like, wow, I have more quality of life and less of this kind of like, red tape and all these like meetings about, I could not even tell you what they were about. And I would never go back. Like I would never go back. I just, I haven't worked in corporate for a really long time. I think I quit in 2002. And then I did something else for a little bit after that. And then I just was like, I'm going to figure out my own path and way. But I agree with you that it makes sense to, reconsider things. And sometimes you can't do that until you leave a certain place in an environment. And I feel that Mexico definitely is, for me, has been very enlightening in general. Life has always been, good to me overall. I mean, we all have struggles and things like that. But when I moved here, I think I moved thinking about more the economy of things, how much things cost. And, but once I got here, I started realizing like, this is so great for my child. I didn't want to raise him in the US. I really wanted him to have the opportunity to comfortably speak another language, be integrated into a different culture, and be able to have an open mind to other people. And I knew that that would be beneficial starting at a younger age, as opposed to, not that it doesn't benefit us older, but I just felt that, okay, if he has access to certain things at this point, maybe later on in life, he'll be more open to just moving around, being more of a global citizen. So that was kind of a big part of the picture. But once we got here to Mexico, it was just such a beautiful experience. People were receiving, it's very community based. And also, it feels so different than what we're taught and told. It wasn't scary. People were not like waiting to just be negative about my life and living here. It was like, I had so many people say, don't get kidnapped, watch out, be safe. And I was just kind of like, obviously you're aware, but it just was none of those things. And it's so beautiful to kind of experience that. And yeah, we still have a lot of, I don't know, I feel like there are a lot of benefits to living here, more than you think. And not, like you said, not the consumerism things. It's just really a nice, inviting place, I think, to live. Yeah. So yeah, I was just going to ask you, so what do you feel like your pros and cons have been living in Lake Chapala?
Well, I'm hard pressed to find very many cons. I experience gratitude every day. So I am fully aware of the pros. And any cons that, I might imagine, well, I can think of one. So my Spanish is not really, really the best. And there are some things that I can navigate around. I can navigate through. For instance, I had a problem with my house and I could, talk to the plumber and, that kind of thing. But I need new curtains. Okay, that is going to require some Spanish I'm not sure about. So that's really, it's just going to take me a little bit longer to work my way up to, okay, I'm just going to call, I can call certain bilingual people or certain Spanish speaking people and communicate well. But there are some others that are, I don't know, I don't know what it is yet, but there's sometimes communication issues for me. But that is nothing compared to how I feel on the inside.
Right.
My health, my well-being, my relationships, my I do art, garden, everything that I do is fulfilling.
Right.
I only come to like a little speed bump when it comes to certain kinds of communications in Spanish. And, there are ways around them, but they just require you to think a little bit. Okay, now how am I going to get this done?
Right. Right.
That. But compared to the States, oh my gosh, I'm not concerned with traffic. I'm not concerned with being late. I'm not concerned with stress. I'm not concerned with I've got this to do over that to do, appointments. And like for instance, a friend was visiting and she needed to get a negative COVID test to get on the plane. Well, I said, okay, the lab's around the corner, we just pop in.
Right.
She said, I don't have my ID, I don't have my money. No problem, we just pop in, they do the test, bring your money back, bring your ID back, and we'll give you the results. Boom.
Right.
Try to get the test in the States to get on the plane.
Headaches.
It's like you got to make an appointment between 2 and 4, and the results are going to come in 24 to 48 hours, and the lab's not open on the weekends, and the plane leaves on Sunday. It was like,
I know. I don't miss the red tape either. I mean, it's funny because I feel like that aspect of living in the United States has melted away. And I forget about these things until I land in an American airport. And I'm just like, oh God, here we go.
a very litigious place. The States is very litigious. People want to sue for everything. So a lot of the red tape and protocol is about just avoiding lawsuits. That's really all it's about. It doesn't have any other purpose. So here, because that's not a thing, like people aren't suing for pretty much anything.
Right.
Like anything that you could think of that you might sue for is a useless proposition here, because you spend money, and if you're suing someone that doesn't have money, or if you're suing a corporation that does have money, you're going to lose. So nobody.
Right. No, it's true.
Work out your differences here.
It's true. I mean, and two, from the other side of the coin, it's like, yeah, it can be, somewhat beneficial if you have all these things in place in the US, but, at the same time, it's exactly what you said. But sometimes here, I think we, at least newcomers, we get shocked when we see stuff. We're like, oh my God, somebody could fall off that ledge. And it's just, okay, you better look where you're walking.
That's what you better do.
Pay attention. Make sure you don't back up too far. Your car might be going over that ledge, or so it just makes you more aware. And I also think it kind of also makes children way more aware. I've noticed a lot of things here that you just wouldn't see in the US, or, and it's sort of like they give their kids that space to become more independent and not have, hover moms like sometimes I am, especially when I first came here. I wasn't used to it. And this is a plus. This was a pro for me, because I had always lived in a development with my son in the US, and we moved to a development here, not really looking for development life necessarily. It was just, it was, I have to say, definitely a creature comfort for my husband, because he initially wasn't really too crazy about, our first day in San Miguel, or our first visit and first day of our visit in San Miguel a few years ago. And he was just like, we walked around and he didn't think it was for him initially. But the second day, he really liked this development. I think it was relatable for him. And I said, okay, if that's what it takes to get us to Mexico, I'm fine with that, because I really wanted to be in El Centro and just be able to walk around. I thought this was what I wanted initially. But thinking about it from a family perspective, I didn't realize that this was going to actually be really a good thing and a comfort thing. But in saying all of that, we ended up in a development, and I
Oh,
remember
right. You were on House Hunters, right?
yes, we were.
Okay, right. I saw
Yes.
that. I saw that. I
Oh,
remember.
okay. Yes.
Yeah, you wanted to be in Centro, right? And
Yes. Yes.
and the development that you picked was the best one, really.
Right, right. Yeah, no, it was. So when I spent the first week here, and I met my neighbor, and her daughter so my son was 6 at the time, and her daughter, I think, was 5. And, we spoke at the pool, and she's like, yeah, I've been here. I grew up for part of my life in the US, but I'm Mexican, and she's married to American. And, we just hit it off, and the kids hit it off. So I was like, okay, this is nice. I'm thinking, cool. Okay. He has one friend now. And I remember 2 or 3 days later, I think her mom came by, and then the next morning, her little daughter came and she rang the bell, and she was by herself. And I panicked, right? I was like, where's your mom? you know? And she was so adorable. She just looks at me, and this is a little 5-year-old girl. She's like, she's at home. Can Micah play? And I was just kind of like, yeah, but where's your mom? And she's like, she's at home. And I was just kind of like, does your mom know you're here? She's like, yeah. And it was just this whole
What is
weird,
your problem?
yeah, like, let me in. Where's Micah? And I was just so, and I tell people this story all the time because I was not used to this. And I think, obviously our culture is a lot different. Not saying everywhere in the US is bad and every development, no, but I wasn't used to that. I wasn't used to having this kind of like, freedom. I was just like, he is not trained to be outside on his own, not yet. But little by little, my point of saying it is that, it was kind of a learning experience, and one of those things where, Mexican culture is very different. They do really have, a lot of love for parents and children and moms and whatever. Not that you can just let your kid run out there. I don't want this to be taken the wrong way, but it was just one of those things that for me as a parent, I had to kind of learn that it's okay here, let go a little at a time. And, I was always like, okay, what house are you at and where are you going, whatever. So that's been a huge, huge, huge plus. And it made that transition so much easier and such a beautiful thing. When we go to other places and visit, I feel like when I come back, I'm on vacation. I'm like, okay, where I live is like you were saying earlier, you have peace of mind. There's a lot of gratitude. You just, you feel so connected to the space. I feel like this is home and I'm on vacation all the time. I'm just like, this is good. Even my neighbor said it once. She said, I feel like when I come back home, I'm on vacation. I said, I know, right? So we're blessed. We're blessed. I'm happy Mexico receives us in this capacity, But I wanted to ask you, you were saying like things to do. What sorts of things do you enjoy doing there? You mentioned doing art. Do they have like art classes? Is there a space where do they have a lot of galleries? I know that they do in San Miguel. There are tons of, writers and artists and things like that. Is it somewhat the same setup?
Yeah, it's pretty much considered a community founded by artists, you know, local artists and expat artists as well. And there's not as many galleries as in San Miguel, but there's, you know, a lot of galleries, but there are art supply places, which is important to me. There are classes, there's art societies. You know, art is just like, that's like in the background. That's the background against which everything else exists. So that's like a given. And then on top of that, there's a Lake Chapala Society, which hosts like the newspaper has like 2 full pages of activities every week that's going on. So there's everything from, you know, softball to tennis to, you know, whatever kinds of card games and that kind of thing. We also have like the largest international number of international cuisine restaurants. So we have restaurants from A to Z, Thai, India, any kind of food you want, Caribbean.
Nice.
It's just
Caribbean.
Yeah.
Okay, what's Caribbean? Because I'm Jamaican, so what does that?
Well, okay, so
encompass?
it's like a couple of places that make sure that you have your congi rice, I think they pronounce it, and plantains, and, you know, along with the dishes that they serve. They have a couple of places that are more kind of Creole mixture, you know, they're all unique. I mean, there are no, you know, straight chain restaurants per se. So each one is unique, but the cuisine spans the globe, and that's, you know,
that's amazing.
An excellent thing about here. You do not get food board. There's also I do a lot of gardening because you know, it's full sun year round, and it's new to me. I'm used to seasonal gardening in the States, and so this is an adventure. There's also natural spas, you know, with the
hot springs.
Hot
thermal
springs.
spas.
Yep, lots of those.
Beautiful.
And the other activities really just depend on a person's social interest. You know, there's lots of things for people that like to volunteer for animal support, or helping the orphans, or helping the community in certain ways. There's fundraisers. There's like A to Z. Anything you could think of pretty much is here, because people come here. If they see what they like, they go join it. If they don't, they create it, you know.
Okay.
So, yeah,
that's a beautiful thing. So I wanted to ask another question about the food, because I'm greedy. So more so about the Caribbean, are those run by like local people or foreigners or Black expat? I'm just curious, because I would love if they had, not that I want to do this, a Caribbean restaurant here. I know that there's a Sri Lankan place, and they definitely have Thai, which is not Caribbean. But, you know, I just had this thought, and I was like, you know, they need some Caribbean food here. It would be really nice if they had that. So
yeah, so the latest one that opened up is the person is, I think he's white, but he may have lived there or something. You know, like, I don't have the full story, but the cooking is, you know, it's the spices, it's the authenticity, and they have they don't have a really big menu, so they can kind of keep it going, you know, with the fluctuations with the COVID and all that. You know, it's been a real challenge to keep your business open. So, you know, the fact that they have been able to stay open is mostly due to limited menus. And it's the same thing with the Indian food and the and I'm calling them Creole because they're these are two different Black expats who have kind of Creole background. They're not, but their food is influenced I'll call it
Okay.
Creole influence, and sometimes Caribbean influence as well.
Nice.
And
Okay.
their menus vary, so it's not going to be the same thing all the time.
Right.
And then there are other restaurants that change their menu week to week, so that you can get a variety of international cuisine. So one week it may be Caribbean, the next week it may be French. It's
Okay.
just like that. But the variety of food is like that was a very big plus for me, because I don't really like to tell people I don't like Mexican food. So I really am allergic to a lot of the hot peppers, and they put tomatoes and cheese and everything. So
Yes.
I mean, I'm not as allergic as I used to be, thank goodness, and I can eat a lot more. But in the beginning, knowing that I was not going to be able to eat anything, I had to find a place that had variety of cuisines. And of course, there's fresh markets and farmers markets, and if you like to cook, oh my goodness, it's great.
Right.
But also, you have to recognize things are in season. You do things in season. In the States, they just ship in something from anywhere, any time of the year, and you just have it. Here, it's definitely seasonal, and you learn to live with those seasons and eat those fruits and vegetables and things that are in season in your area.
Right. And there's an abundance.
That is also another thing that I love about living here. Another thing, like there's 50 million. But I love living in a country that grows its own food. Like something feels very comfortable about that. Like I don't have to wait for a truck or a plane to bring the food in. Like I can see it running down the street.
Yeah, no, it's true. I mean, and it's funny because you can drive throughout Mexico and it doesn't matter where you are, there's always going to be someone at a speed bump selling you something they just picked from a farm up the street. And I love that. And like you said, it's always seasonal. Sometimes you'll see peaches. Other times you'll see, they call tunas, which is the top of the fruit off the top of the cactus, mangoes, you name it. It goes on. And there is a lot of comfort to that, to feel like, and that was also one of the reasons why I kind of nixed Panama, because I felt that Panama is their banking system's heavily attached to the US. And if anything ever happened with the US, that they also would kind of crumble on the economic side, not necessarily agricultural, because I didn't look into that, but I thought at the very least, we'll have food in Mexico because there's food everywhere. And like you said, you can grow it. I have a little mini container garden because the weather's great outside. And last summer with COVID, my mom got stuck here. We were just sticking tomatoes as is in the dirt, and I grew tomatoes, I grew peppers from the peppers I had in my kitchen, and yeah, they're still thriving. So it's really nice to have that access for sure. I mean, it's funny that you said you're con, because mine is the same. It's more just that I need to learn the language better, and I say that because it is important to me that I don't just, live in kind of like a mental no man's land, where I don't understand what's going on around me. And I definitely know a lot of Spanish in general because I studied it for a long time, but I really want to be so comfortable so that I can, go to a place that no one speaks any English and I feel like I can maneuver. Right now, my crutch is San Miguel, but my son is actually fluent in Spanish after just being here for 3 years. And sometimes I'm like, what's that word again? And he corrects me. He tells me what it is.
Yeah, that's a good thing.
Yeah,
that's a good thing.
It helps a lot. It's a beautiful thing. He actually did a presentation for his Spanish class in Spanish about the history of San Miguel on video. And I was just like, wow, because I hear him speaking to his friends, but this was really him speaking and going through the points on his little, his little construction paper and pictures and all the little bullet points. And I was just like, wow, okay. This is where you become the proud parent. It's like, okay, this was worth all the, push through stress and get us there. And what's it going to be? And, I try my best to encourage any parent that calls or asks me questions about bringing their child, because I think that we think, there's maybe some lack here in regard to that. And I'm like, absolutely not. They're going to benefit. They will benefit. Learning a new language is beneficial, period.
Period.
Yes, definitely. So, but yeah, no, I love it. I love it. I've got to get to Lake Chapala. I've got to get there.
Yeah, yeah, you do. It's very magical. It really is.
Yeah.
We kind of think of it as an energy vortex as well.
Mhm.
Um, and it's something that you do kind of have to experience. I don't know that you can get it from the internet. You
Right.
just kind of have to be on the ground, and then, oh yeah, okay, I
Yeah.
see what you mean.
Yeah.
Some people, not everybody,
Right.
is, on the same page, but, for those who are, it is definitely worth the trip.
So what do you think are the numbers of like Black expats that live there, more or less?
It is growing exponentially. If I had to guess, um, I'm pretty sure we are not at 100,
Oh, wow.
but we're zooming up there
Wow.
because new people are coming in every day.
Mhm.
There's couples, and especially racial couples, and
Mhm.
so you have to count all these people as
Right.
well. Um, but we're heading up there. We're heading up there.
I love that. There are definitely not that many here in terms of, full-time status, but it is growing. And I'm curious to know, like, what do you think the draw is, or what do you think Black Americans are seeing or experiencing to be able to go to Lake Chapala? I mean, do you think it's a lot of the sites online, or just people want out of the US? I mean, what's bringing someone to Lake Chapala, like a Black person from the US?
So, first of all, Black people are not, monolithic, and we're also in different phases of life. Like I mentioned, being in the fall. Well,
Right.
those in the summer are the ones that I consider those who are um, in the work world.
Right.
They're actively making their way in the work world. They're raising their families. They're,
Mhm.
preparing for their futures. And then there's those of us who are in the fall, which like, okay, well, we're done with that part. Now we're
Right.
in the next.
Right.
And both tend to be people looking for a better way of doing whatever it is that they're doing, either a better
Mhm.
way of retiring or a better way of a smarter way of working.
Right.
And for those in the work world, there's nothing better than the U.S. economy and the U.S. dollar in terms of making money. That's for sure.
Exactly.
And so a lot of people are just trying to find a way to, work in the U.S. but not live in the U.S.
Right.
So those are things of considerations. Particularly, internet connectivity is like key everywhere, no
Yes.
matter what it is that you're looking for.
Mhm.
But particularly in the Lake Chapala area,
Mhm.
it's the laid backness. It's the
Mhm.
community of you can do what you want and everything's available.
Right.
Like a kid in a candy shop kind of thing.
Yeah.
What we like about being inland versus being on the coast is the weather. So we don't have
Mhm.
those. It's just too hot to live, days.
Right. I know. I hear
Being
about them.
directly in the sun with the sand.
Right.
And also those areas you need to have air conditioning. You need to
Mhm.
have a high, electric bill. In the central area, not so much. We have a
Mhm.
couple of really hot months. April and May are
Mhm.
extremely hot. They're getting hotter with global warming, but other than that, it's
It's
really
comfortable.
temperate year round.
Mhm.
Um, and winter, is not that cold either. There's like a couple of cold days, but most people get by with space heaters.
Right.
In some of those area mountains or beach, you need to have HVAC or something,
All the time.
to stay there year round.
Mhm.
And then there's also naturally the problem with mold. I mean, you can get when you have very humid areas, you can
Mhm.
have to deal with that. Not so much lakeside. Also, lakeside has a variety of different types of communities. So you can live with and then not just lakeside, I guess all over Mexico. You can live with the Mexican people in
Mhm.
communities that are no expats, all the way to gated communities that are only expats.
Right. Right.
And everything in between. You can live in the cities, with all the amenity, or you can live more rural.
Right.
The whole lakeside area is considered pretty much rural. We have one main paved street, and the rest of them are just, rocky, cobblestone, dusty,
Mhm.
that kind of thing that forces people to slow down. A lot of people are walkers, so it's walkable.
Mhm.
Buses, are easy, so that's a good
And
thing.
very inexpensive. I know COVID kind of got us down a bit there, but I know it's making a comeback. But I used to, when I first moved to San Miguel, I took the bus with my son, and it was so inexpensive. I think it cost 20,
7.
yeah, 7 pesos, which is what? I don't even know what that is. 20
It's
pesos,
like
20
3
cents,
cents.
3
Yeah,
cents. Okay.
3 cents.
Yeah, 3 cents, a 3-cent bus ride. That could be the title of this video, right? We're talking about the 3-cent bus ride now. But yeah, there's a lot of benefits. It sounds very similar to here, and a very beautiful place. We don't have a lake, we have a presa, which is unfortunately very dried out because it was very dry and hot here as well. April and May are the summer months. But yeah, I lived in Florida for a long time, and I like the heat, but I think it wore on me so much that when I got here, I was very happy to have a very mild change of seasons where we don't have that harsh winter. There's not the crazy snow, but it's also not extremely hot for 10 months or 8 months out of the year either. So that's a plus. And as I said, at the beginning of the video, and part of the purpose of doing this is so people understand that you can really pick and choose where you want to be in Mexico if that's your choice.
Wait, there's one more thing I forgot to tell you about the healthcare, which is I am an alternative healthcare, fanatic.
Yes.
And that is something that I find an extreme blessing as well, is the
Yes.
ability to access all manner of alternative healthcare just as easily as, allopathic or traditional healthcare. It's just like all the same. It's very affordable. There's no stigma attached. There's no difficulty in getting anything you want. I mean, it's amazing. Stem cell therapy, like, is basically on the corner. Not that I'm, into it, but I'm just thinking of some of the things that are kind of outlandish more in the States.
Right,
Not
like
so
even
much.
fertility. I mean, I have a friend who came here and she did, her fertility treatments and whatever, and it was so much more affordable. And, I've talked to people who spend thousands and thousands of dollars in the US. And yeah, I would say in general, the cost here are at least a third, if not a half, and some even more. I know I was talking to Nanette, and she
Down to
told
the
me about her rent, and I said, I'm moving to Lake Chapala tomorrow.
yes.
I was just like, that's crazy, because I know that the draw to Merida, at least before, and probably still is, was the cost of living. And I know a lot of, Black Americans or I keep saying Americans, but Black folks from the US are moving to Merida because it's very inexpensive, and people, want to be in the heat and whatever. But I also, like I said, there's so many other places in Mexico. San Miguel is definitely on the higher end, but I feel that it all depends as well on what you're looking for. Everyone has a different thing, and I think that you can live almost anywhere in Mexico and find what fits you. You just need to be patient with the process and give yourself a chance, and also be patient with the people and the culture. I say that all the time, come with a lot of grace, and, don't make a whole lot of comparisons, because it's different, but it's different in a good way. You just have to have the openness towards it. But speaking about the cost of living, and even healthcare, like, what is a general like consultation for someone in just a checkup cost in Lake Chapala? Because we pay about 25 US here in San Miguel. Is it about the same?
It's about 15 to 20.
Okay, okay.
About 15 to 20 for a medical visit, and you can get the same. You can get a house call, basically,
Right.
for the same thing.
Who knew, right? Who knew?
I know.
That's so
It's like
funny.
so reasonable,
Mhm.
but the whole system, the whole cost of living scale is lowered. And one of the mistakes that a lot of expats are making are there's like, oh, that's too cheap, and they're paying more, and they're raising things up exponentially without giving a thought to what they're really doing. And
Right,
it's an ongoing battle to try to get people to respect the economy the way that it is,
right. And
without
also that
change.
cost drives up the cost for the locals as well.
And drives them out, and makes it less affordable for them to live here. You have to really look at the whole economic big picture to get that, but that's
Right,
part of the educational process of these videos and things like that.
true.
Don't pay more.
Exactly.
Raise things up.
No, I agree with you 100%. So this is a question I have not asked anyone, but how's it been for you, the hair care? Because I know that comes up, and it's becoming more kind of like a question as people come here. They're all like, uh, for example, there's a girl that's visiting now. She's younger, but when she arrived in SMA, she was just like, is there anywhere? She found me because she was looking for someone to do her hair, and I was like, there's no one. I don't. There's no one here in San Miguel, but maybe Querétaro, which is an hour away. But how's it been for you? I know that might come up, and not maybe your personal experiences, but does that come up in our, conversations among Black women? Because, we want to, sometimes you just, we don't want to do it ourselves all the time. That's how I feel.
Black women and their hair. Okay, that's just a whole conversation all by itself.
Tell
Black
me about
women and
it.
their hair. There's like magazines all about that. But
Mhm.
there was no one here in Lake Chapala area that did hair, but a couple of people have come down, once a year or something, and there's someone now in Guadalajara. They can
Okay.
do braids and lock maintenance and other kinds of hair
Okay.
styles. I've had locks for, oh my God, 20, 30 years. I don't know, because
Okay.
I got tired of doing hair back then.
I hear you.
But what I do when I go to the States, I just get, some kind of lock treatment or something, and then it lasts a year. I'm done.
Okay.
I've also had short hair, and getting it cut, requires you actual, keeping it this length. Like if you want it really short all the time, you have to get someone that can do it for you. I think that's easier than some of the natural styles, or the styles where you need someone to do it for you.
Right.
Initially, I had the thought that I was going to just train somebody to, do my locks, because it's not that hard. I
Right.
would just
Right.
have to tell them how to do it. But I'm really free. I'm out of the hair game. I'm
Right.
done. I
I feel
graduated from that.
it's funny because I really didn't give it a ton of thought. Like when I came here, I was doing, a lot of the things that I don't say because it's not traditional, but a lot of the things that Black women do in the US. I was just like, okay, extensions and a ponytail or this or that. And when I moved to Mexico, I really wanted to free myself of these things, because I knew that, one, I wouldn't be able to get products, and I didn't even look to see is there anyone here, because I just assumed no one's here to do that. So I'm just gonna go natural. And I did, and in the process, it's been really amazing, but I have to put a but in there because, I find it that it's challenging sometimes simply because I don't feel like being bothered. And in saying all of that, I've been talking to several people about just maybe someone being in Mexico that's mobile. And we found two ladies that were in Playa, and she actually legitimately opened a salon over there. And we had them come to San Miguel a couple months ago, and they did six heads. And it worked
Yay.
out really well because we all shared the cost. But, it was still a long, it's a long trip from Playa. You have to fly, right? It was still kind of like getting her here.
Process.
Yeah,
But the thing is, the trade-off is if you get someone to come in and do hair and they only have to come once or twice a year, it's
right,
not really the same. It's still better
right,
than going to get your hair done, regularly someplace.
right.
And then you can eventually, I think it's a process mentally
Mhm.
to separate yourself from your hair.
True.
We're like all wound tightly with our hair,
I
but we
know.
can live separately. We can
This is
actually,
true.
like, the hair can be its thing, and I can be me, and
Yeah.
we don't have to necessarily
We don't
have
have to
the
fight with each other. We don't have to have a struggle. I hear you. It's funny because last year, if any year, it would have been 2020. I literally was like, I'm about to cut a mohawk right now because I just want to see what it looks like. And,
Yeah.
and I think it would be fun and crazy. And I didn't do it. But yeah, you're right. It's one of those things where I struggle less with it. And it also, it is mental because it also depends on where you are, right? Because I feel like if I land in the US, suddenly I feel like, oh, I need to do something. Here, I don't feel that way. I really feel more like accepted in general. But there are days when I do
Cares.
not want to be
Nobody
bothered.
cares.
No,
Nobody
they don't.
cares.
They don't. They don't.
Nobody cares.
They really don't. And hey, there's so many beautiful hats around here. I have like three, and I just
My goodness. And
put a
several
hat on.
sisters have shaved their heads. Just let the whole thing go. And that
Yes,
you just gotta admire that. That's just like a beautiful thing.
it
It's a
is.
freedom. It's a freedom. And when you think about it, nobody cares. I can't keep saying that enough. It's
Yeah,
like it's only when
it's true. It's
you're
true.
in it.
Throw some makeup on, we'll be all right. We're still beautiful. And it's funny because we are kind of admire in this regard, hair or not, they always have that curiosity factor, especially with Micah. They're always like, oh, I love your hair. I'm like, oh my gosh. And he looks and he's just like looking at me, and I'm like, a little different in a good way. Just take it on, say thank you. But yeah, I found someone that I haven't tried, but I have a friend that moved to Querétaro on Sunday, just this past Sunday, and she found someone through her nanny, and they apparently have a little salon there, and they braid, and I think it's a Mexican. So that's going to be my next venture to Querétaro, just to check it out. But it's funny because people come here, travelers, like, a few Black women have come through and they're asking me questions. I'm like, I said, I have some good shampoo and some nice conditioner, deep conditioner. I'll be happy to give you some. I've literally put some in little sandwich bags. Like, here you go. You got to take care of that yourself. So it's been interesting and a challenge, but it's all good. It's all positive, can't complain.
We do
So,
have a professional hair person that is moving here actually
oh
at the end
yeah,
of this month. Yeah, Kim Simmons. She
okay,
does, hair for, stars and um,
nice.
yeah, Hollywood and all that. And so she's moving here. She
Tell
does
her to come
wigs, she
through.
does everything. Yeah.
Oh, yeah,
She'll be
tell her
living
to
here.
come to San Miguel. I can get
I don't
her
know
at
what,
least
I don't know whether
7.
she's looking to retire or, but she has the skills.
Tell her we would pray over her not wanting to retire fully. Just occasionally come, or we'll come there in a caravan, and she can hook us up. And yeah, no, it's fun. It's all good. I really feel like I've actually learned to just do my own thing, and it's okay. But every now and then I'm just, yeah, want to sit down and be like, for not a lot of money. So, but anyway, thank you so much, Nana, for speaking with me. If there's anything else you can think of that you want to add to the audience.
No, I can't think of anything except that the Lake Chapala area is beautiful. It's something to be experienced. It's a community for people that are really into, I would say, feeling their energy, feeling their oats, and exploring what it is to be a beautiful human being is the way I feel about it. We're encouraging, more Black people to come just because we have a symbiotic relationship, we feel, with this community here, and that we have similar values. We consider, the family to be important, the way that we treat the planet to be important, and the way that we treat each other to be a big part of living a great life. And your interest, or I can't think of anything that anybody's interested in doing that's not here.
Right.
Really.
True.
And come visit.
Okay. Well, thank you again for that. I'll definitely come and visit. And I'm pretty sure this will inspire someone to check it out at the very least. I don't think that a lot of people off the cuff in our circles know about Lake Chapala, and some people actually want to keep it that way. They're like, not too many, but I'm like, I say to myself, there are, more Caucasians that are moving to places, and they've already kind of paved the path, right? So why reinvent the wheel? If we can go there and it's already kind of like welcoming and it's comfortable for you to also transition into that and meet a couple of us that are already there, why not? So that's sort of my thought process is go somewhere if you feel like you need that community and find that community that you connect with. It sounds very similar to here, and I can't wait to visit and see you hopefully in the near future. Thank you again, Nana. Have a great day. Bye. Thanks. Thank you so much for joining us today for another lifestyle series by Afro Expats. Be sure to subscribe, share, and like, and we will see you again soon.